Chopin was a composer who loved to tell stories through music. Many of his works, such as Etudes, Nocturnes, Polonaises, and Mazurkas, may seem to have neutral and objective titles, but behind them lie hidden stories that are not commonly known. Moreover, he was the first composer in history to create a piano piece titled Ballade, which is specifically meant to tell a story. Traditionally, these narrative pieces were sung by wandering minstrels who accompanied themselves on the lute. However, Chopin transformed the ballade into music that is purely instrumental, played solely on the piano, without any lyrics. He wrote a total of 4 ballads in his lifetime, and each one tells a very captivating story. But here comes the problem. While we know these stories are fascinating, we don't know what stories they are telling. Isn't that completely absurd? Right? Chopin labeled these works as ballades, indicating that they tell a story. But when you ask him, so, what story are you telling? He would respond, well, I'm not going to tell you. What kind of trick is that? But don't worry. Chopin has his reasons for doing this. The reason he doesn't want to tell you what story it is to avoid limiting your imagination, allowing you to have infinite space for interpretation while listening to the music. He is very confident that even if you don't know what story he's telling, you can still enjoy it immensely. This is because Chopin's storytelling technique is incredibly powerful. So today, I want to tell you about the storytelling techniques used in Chopin's ballads, which are truly remarkable. We will focus on the widely recognized masterpiece, the third ballade. This entire piece lasts only a little over 6 minutes, making it quite short, yet its content is extremely rich. The structure, tonal tension, and arrangement are all very complete. You could say that although it's small, it contains all the essential elements. Just the first 8 measures tell a very complete story. It begins with a dominant chord, resembling a melody that poses a question. Then another melody forcefully responds to it. Then, in the third phrase, the melody descends to the lowest note, posing an even deeper question. Finally, the last phrase returns to the original high note, providing a perfect answer to that question. You see, these 4 phrases themselves already tell a complete story. And as we mentioned earlier, Chopin never revealed what story he was telling. Therefore, many people have offered different interpretations of this music. Some might think that this opening is like a storyteller's introduction, once upon a time in a faraway place. Others might believe that this opening represents a dialogue between the male and female protagonists in the story. Do you really love me? Of course, I love you. You won't change your mind, will you? I won't change my mind. No interpretation is absolutely correct. You can also have your own interpretation, so feel free to leave a comment below, telling me what you think these 4 phrases are about. In any case, after the opening of these 4 phrases, the real story begins. The key to how Chopin tells the story in the subsequent music lies in his arrangement of form and tonality. Form refers to how the different sections of a piece are organized, much like a script for a story, which may include exposition, conflict, and resolution. These different stages make up the structure of the story. In the exposition phase, several different themes are presented sequentially. Then, in the conflict phase, these themes interact, clash, and create tension. Finally, in the resolution phase, the themes return to their original form and tonality, allowing the accumulated tension to be released and resolved, leading the story to a fulfilling conclusion. In the world of music, there are similar dramatic tension changes, and this tension is reflected in the tonality of the themes. For example, in this piece, there are two main tonal areas, A flat and C major. These two keys contrast and conflict with each other, and their interaction weaves a captivating story throughout the piece. However, if I go into detail about the issue of tonality, this discussion may become quite complex and difficult for most viewers to digest at once. So please allow me to sidestep a deeper discussion of tonality in this episode. I promise that when our channel starts a series on Chopin's narrative pieces in the future, we will analyze the tonal stories in this piece in great detail. For now, let's focus on the more surface-level discussion of form and see how Chopin uses different themes to create an engaging musical narrative. We just heard a theme that sounds like a dialogue between two people, which we will refer to as the first theme. In addition to this first theme, there are two other important themes in this piece, each holding significant importance. First, there is the second theme, which is very different from the first in terms of tonality, rhythm, and character. That evokes a feeling of a pleasant stroll. Shortly after, we will hear the third theme, which also contrasts with the second in tonality and character. Its characteristic is that it shoots up to a high note like a firework and then gradually slides down. So far, we've heard three important themes in this piece. You can think of them as three different characters in a story, or three different scenes, or however you like. After presenting these themes, one after another, Chopin will later rearrange and combine them in the second half of the piece, allowing them to interact and intertwine in a fascinating way. What's remarkable is that toward the end of the entire piece, Chopin brings these three themes together in a very condensed and tight manner, completely integrating them. For example, in this section, the second theme first appears in a very intense way. Originally, it sounds like this. But then it transforms into this. Then, it intertwines with the first theme, with the two themes continuously entangled and emotional tension building up. Finally, when it reaches its peak, the first theme reappears in its most complete form. Not long after the first theme reappears, the third theme quickly follows behind. These three themes are tightly condensed together, creating a very passionate sound. This complete restatement of the themes is akin to the recapitulation in traditional sonata form. When the themes reappear in their original form, it musically represents the resolution of tension, giving you the feeling that the hero has finally triumphed over evil, or that justice has finally arrived. In traditional sonata form, the recapitulation section typically has a length similar to when the themes were originally presented. However, in Chopin's narrative piece, he skillfully simplifies and shortens all the themes, allowing them to flow in a condensed manner, one after another, like a rapid succession of scenes in life. This extremely condensed recapitulation is unprecedented in music history, as very few people write music in this way. Because of this technique, the resolution of tension in this piece becomes very intense, creating a powerful sense of narrative. You can have infinite imaginative space regarding the story behind it. After this, many of Chopin's works, for example, his fourth ballade, the Barcarolle, and the Fantasy on Polish themes, all continue to use similar techniques to tell more wonderful stories. He also influenced many later composers. For instance, I believe Tchaikovsky and Rachmaninoff's piano concertos were greatly inspired by Chopin's methods. Additionally, Debussy's piano work Les Joyeux was entirely modeled after the structure of this narrative piece. Chopin not only opened a new phase in his own compositions with this work, but also established a groundbreaking musical narrative technique in history.so here. I want to ask everyone, what kind of story do you think he is telling? What plot do you imagine lies behind this rising action, climax, and resolution? I would love to hear your thoughts. Whether you have a ready-made storyline that corresponds to this music or you want to create a fictional story from scratch, feel free to share the story you hear in the comments below. The end of the video while you think about your story.